All right, welcome back, everybody, to the Pricky Six podcast. Thank you guys for listening. I'm one half of the Pricky Six, Michael, and I'm here again with my friend Jake. How you doing, Jake?
Good, how are you?
I'm good, man. I can't complain. What topic are we going to get into today?
So we're going to talk about resiliency today. A lot of the comments on our Instagram and TikTok kind of wanted to know stories about some of the schools I've been to and some of the places I've been, and they wanted to know a little bit more about you and your past and stuff you've dealt with, prior to the military. So today's, I guess, the broad topic will just be about being resilient.
Okay, resiliency. Yeah, super important for sure. So yeah, a soldier of yours in the past came up to me and he said that specifically he wanted to know how did you stay resilient during Ranger School? And I think we'll kind of go piggyback. I'll piggyback off the grant, obviously, because I've never been to Ranger School, but just what I've done in my past to stay resilient. So you want to get into that?
Yeah. So being an MP with a Ranger tab, it's something that is very honorable for me, but it's something that you don't see a lot of. So when someone sees that, they want to know stories. So I told my story millions of times, and I don't mind that at all, because it gives people that want to go the chance to kind of hear feedback from other people. But I guess my time going through it, being resilient had to be like the person like you were, the soldier you were. You had to be resilient because you couldn't think about like your day to day, because your life was essentially like you were living in hell. You know what I mean? Like you're with a great group of people, but at the end of the day, it's like I've been up for 20 hours. Like I did do it again tomorrow. Like so, like the motivation for me was just me going back to my unit. Earning that tab and just being like, I did something. I'm proud of it. I've always wanted to do it, and it's just something to show others that you can do it. And during my time throughout it, millions of thoughts run through your head, because I'm a firm believer, and if you want to find out who you are, go to Ranger School.
So what were some of the things that you maybe like said to yourself or found saying to yourself like consistently throughout your time in Ranger School that kind of like made you kind of like perk up a little bit in those moments? Because I can imagine it sucks, but like what did you do, or like some techniques that you practiced to keep a level head and stay motivated?
Yeah. So when I joined the military, my father was the most proud of me to just join. And I started going to these schools, and every time he would tell me, "You're just a kid from Maine." He was like, "Show them what the kids from Maine can do." So when I got to Ranger School, and like I started feeling like very down, and like if you didn't want to quit when you went through Ranger School, then you probably didn't have the right experience, because everyone wanted to quit at some point. You just can't.
Sure. Yeah.
So like one technique that I did was in my PC, I did my pace count, for my movements, but then I wrote "just a kid from Maine." And every time I just wanted to just call it, I just looked at my PC and I'm like, "Just a kid from Maine, we can do it."
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's super exciting. I think you're one of maybe 4 or 5 MP Rangers that I've met in my career. My first sergeant was a Ranger, and then actually like the sister company at the time, he was a Ranger as well. I think they went together. But so what are some other things like not as extreme as Ranger School that you kind of tell yourself like daily that still kind of does that for you, like that level-headedness, things of that nature?
Honestly, it's kind of just that one saying my father tells me all the time is, "You're just a kid from Maine." And that's like kind of what motivates me. Obviously, like my family is a big one, and like my family has no military background at all. None. So like I was like the first one to actually go to the military and be somewhat successful. And it's just one of those honorable things, because now like I have a family, my brother has a family, and it's like something that I want like my son and like my nephew and nieces to be like, my uncle or my dad or my uncle, set out like on his journey and then just murdered it, like just killed everything that he did. And that's like kind of the image that I kind of want to portray, is like nothing's impossible. Like though like a lot of the people that graduate Ranger schools, like, it wasn't that bad. But everyone has their own walk of life, and for me it was miserable.
Yeah.
Like I have countless stories that we can talk about in different episodes. Like there was one morning I went temporarily blind because I had such a severe sinus infection. They had to rush me to the hospital.
Jesus.
Yeah, waking up in a foot of water in my sleeping bag. Tying my boots in the cold, my bootlaces snapping off. Like you know what I mean? So it's just one of those things that, and honestly, like, as I wouldn't say as cliche as it sounds, but you know, after the first week, and then going into the first phase of Derby, you don't get any sleep, so you're already sleep deprived. So essentially, you're just a zombie.
Mm-hmm.
You're just literally being like, Roger that, and then you're just walking until they tell you to stop.
Mm-hmm. Just going with emotions.
Yeah,
that's interesting to think. So I would say, I think honestly, earlier in my career, I think resiliency was probably more talked about than it is now. Like I remember in processing Fort Bliss as a brand new soldier, and I had to go to like different little places on post. And one of the things that we went to was like MRT training, the Master Resiliency Training. I think that's the acronym for it.
Yep.
It was pretty interesting. And I think for me, kind of like the not ranger, more like a normal person here, like resiliency. I think what makes it easier for me to remain resilient is personally, like, if you establish goals, humble, accomplishable goals, and determine the means of accomplishing said goals, that's what helps me stay resilient. So, one day may not be as, let's say like effective or productive as another, but as long as I, in my mind, can kind of stay like, I'm still working towards this goal, I'm still working on being a better version of myself, that kind of makes it a little bit better to be resilient. Because for me, at the lowest point of my career is when my mom passed away. So my mom passed away, I got to my first unit in September of 2016, and my mom passed in November of that same year. So, for me, I was like a hard-headed, arrogant 18-year-old. Look at me, well, 19 actually. Got my own place, my little barracks room, got money, got my car. So like, for me, I'd imagine like a lot of other soldiers too, is like, I don't really need family kind of thing. That's where I was at that point in time. So I wasn't really responding to like text messages or anything like that. But then my mom snapped a finger and then she's gone. So that was definitely the lowest point in my career. But just what helped me stay resilient in that moment was like kind of a realistic thing to think about as far as like the aspect of like life in general is like the world will continue to spin either with you on it or without you on it. And my world continued to, I still woke up, I still went to bed, unfortunately, without my mom being there present, but I still had things to get after. Like I still had things that I needed to do. I still had, I didn't have, at this time, I didn't even know my wife existed. Kids weren't even something that I was even thinking about at the time. For me, it was just go, go, go. And when that happened for me, was what reassured me in my resiliency was just going and just getting after it. I wasn't very positive. That's something we can actually talk about too, but like I was not a very positive person. I wasn't very much of a joy to be around. But I very much knew in my mind what I needed to do to set myself apart in my career, whether it be physical fitness, whether it be, being that loud person in front of the formation, stuff that we used to do in the Army. Like I was doing what I could to be the strongest, fastest, loudest, most hard-headed, little dude out there, to where like my NCO was like, oh man, that's the guy. So definitely I built a callus. Have you heard that terminology before? Like, my heart definitely kind of like built a callus over it. So I guess that's sort of a form of resiliency, but just being able to like bounce back from stuff, because that's a traumatic thing for anyone to experience. But I would say definitely that's kind of how I dealt with it.
Do you think when you were at Fort Bliss and you were starting to transition, like from, because that was your first duty station, right?
Yeah.
Do you think that your mom's passing kind of made you, I guess, a little more motivated to make her proud?
Yeah. In hindsight, looking back on it, yes. I don't think at that moment I would have said yes, but yeah, I definitely, I used that as a chip on my shoulder. Like I said, not in a very positive way, but in my mind, what helped me, it was not very the most healthy way, but what helped me was having that chip on my shoulder. Like another soldier of equal rank and position and age as me, like in my mind, which I said it's not very good. Like you couldn't tell me shit. Like, oh, you worked, late yesterday because you had a case. Well, my mom died. Fuck you. Yeah. Oh, your girlfriend broke up with you that you've been dating for a month. Well, my mom died. Fuck you. Like that. That at that time, my 19-year-old mind was, my fire was so huge because of that. Like you couldn't tell me shit because in my mind I'm like, not one of you. Which granted I can't. It's like I can't keep saying that it wasn't a very good way of thinking, but because I don't know what people have been through. I really don't. But at that time I was like, none of you can say shit to me because I'm battling demons that you can't even fathom, and I'm still out here giving you 110%. I'm still faster than you. I'm still stronger than you. I'm still a better soldier. I'm still a better patrol than you. Stuff like that. But in that moment, yeah, that's what fueled my fire, so to say.
So when you were at your peak of your, like, the fire's burning, mm-hmm. When did you realize, like, maybe this isn't the right way to do things?
Man, it was shift PT one day. I was a specialist. I was promotable, and so was a buddy of mine. He was a corporal though. We're doing PT. He led PT, and for none of the soldiers were standing at parade rest. It's a stupid story, honestly, but it's answering your question. And no one was standing at parade rest, and for me, that like really ticked me off. Like, I was really about like customs and courtesies back then, much as I am now, but I'm not a yeller or a screamer anymore. And that's also like my friend. So like in my mind, I took it as a disrespect for him. So no one's saying a parade rest, and then I kind of like turned to the soldiers, and I'm still a soldier, and I start yelling. I'm like, "You, who the fuck do you guys think you are? You better stand at parade rest for Corporal so and so. Like y'all lost your minds." Da, da, da. I'm yelling, and I'm like, I'm telling him like, I wish Corporal so and so would let me handle this how I want to handle it, because y'all won't fucking like it. He's like, do what you need to do. And I start smoking the ever-living shit out of all the soldiers. Like, super toxic stuff. Like, I'm telling them to go, run to touch your wall in, like, an ungodly amount of time, like, an unreasonable amount of time, and people start throwing up. People are, like, just, they're breaking down, and I'm just still, like, rah, 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 like I'm, like, a drill sergeant or something. And a squad leader in my platoon is driving by, and he stops and he sees these soldiers just going through hell, and he's like, "What's going on?" And I'm like, proud of myself. I'm like, "Hey, Sergeant, like I'm fucking these guys up." I'm like, "What they do?" I'm like, "Oh, they want to be fucking disrespectful to Corporal so and so, and not saying a parade rest. This is what's gonna happen." He's like, "Dude, cut this shit out." Like, stop. So he gets out of his truck. He's like, "Hey, PT's over. Go get ready for shift." He's like, "You're on shift?" I was like, "Yes, Sergeant." He's like, "Go shower and meet me at Chipotle." There was a Chipotle at Fort Bliss. And I was like, okay, cool. He's like, go shower, meet him at Chipotle. He sits down, he buys me lunch. He's like, so tell me what happened. I go into detail about what happened. And he says, a quote that's always stuck with me and was the beginning of the better version of me as an NCO or a leader, is he told me, he looked at me and said, so you went to that level for soldiers not standing at parade rest. What are you going to do when someone actually does something wrong, like something illegal, immoral, or unethical? Are you going to fucking kill them? Are you going to put your hands on them? Because you can't. I was like, what do you mean? He's like, but it makes sense looking back on it as a more mature person. It's like, I shouldn't have done that because that was way, as an NCO, you're like, the punishment has to fit the crime. Yeah. And for them not staying at parade rest, and I just, literally just put them through hell for for a reason, but it wasn't even valid enough for something that didn't even happen to me. So I would say, yeah, that was really like the height of my arrogance, I would call it, to where it took a leader that I respect the hell out of for him to actually took the time and sat me down, because he didn't have to do that. He could have just been like, hey, look, man, he's the quote unquote pit bull that everyone likes to see. He's like, dude, you need to chill out, because one, it's going to drive you crazy, and it did. and two, like, it doesn't make sense what you're doing. Like, it really doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Roughly how many soldiers was there that you quote unquote smoked?
It was probably like 8.
What was their response when you showed up to shift? Were they like trying to stay away from you? Were they like apologetic?
They definitely weren't apologetic. There was one that I still speak to regularly. He's a staff sergeant now, and he was my soldier when it happened because I was a specialist team leader, and he understood more than he respected it. So he was very the term, like, it rolled like water in a duck's back. So he didn't really care. But the majority of them, even before that, like, a lot of soldiers couldn't go to me with stuff because I was very, like, not by the book, but I was very, like, hard. Like, I just, for some reason in my mind, because of like my version of resiliency, like with my mom, like, I just put on this facade of just like, I have to be hard. I have to be this pit bull that everybody wants. I have to be this version of Caldwell that just is about it. Like, I'm that guy. Don't fuck with me. Like, because in hindsight too, all the NCOs liked it. Like, they liked that they didn't have to be the person that made those corrections. Because I think as a staff sergeant, and you, like, being a squad leader and me being a squad leader right now, like, I kind of want a version of myself in team leaders, kind of like just to kind of like, hey, like, nip it in the butt. But not a lot of soldiers, even at that time, had casual conversation with me. None of them really went to me with problems. None of them really went to me with anything. It was just, a high and by in passing because they had to, and that was it. So yeah, none of them really even respected me at all as like a leader. I guess I think they kind of feared me, honestly, like, not like in an arrogant way, but they definitely were like, no, I don't even want to talk to that dude because he's just gonna fucking yell and be on some bullshit all the time. So yeah. So
I'll ask you a scenario-based question. If you were to rewind back to when you smoked those 8 soldiers, right? So you finish smoking them, they get released. If you were to wake up at shift after you've already smoked, wake up today as you were, talking about like resiliency, like, what would you tell them?
Like, if I had the mentality,
like, probably not apologize, but would you explain to them kind of?
So if I did have the mentality I have now, I would apologize. I would apologize. I would be open to any criticism that they would have to me, even if it would be semi-disrespectful, because I crossed the line. So even right now, like, I know that there's been a couple times that I've crossed the line as a staff sergeant squad leader, but I'm okay with them crossing the line with me back if it's giving me criticism, constructive criticism. But I would have apologized, and I would have been clear about what my intent behind it was, and B, understanding that my route wasn't the best and I acted out of emotion. Because that's leadership in a nutshell, and we'll get back to like resiliency too, but leadership is in a nutshell is very hard because you can't be emotional. Like, you can't be an emotional leader. It's good to have empathy. Like, you can't be emotionless. You can't be a robot, but like allowing people's mistakes to affect you and change how you're thinking and change your leadership style because you're acting out of emotion is never good.
Yeah.
Unless it's a positive emotion.
Yeah.
Like, but it's never good negative. Like, I can't remember times that I've yelled or screamed here, but I don't remember the last time I've yelled because I don't think I have to. I think now I can. And just recently, one of my team leaders and I butted heads, which is good. I like when I not necessarily butt heads with people, but I am allowed the opportunity to understand someone better because of where they're coming from and where I'm coming from. But something happened with me and one of my team leaders, and I acted out of emotion. I didn't yell, hoot and holler, I didn't smoke anybody or anything like that, but we both kind of acted out of emotion, but we were able to without emotion have a different conversation and have a similar understanding of where we were both coming from and be better from it. So I think that's super important because no one's perfect. I'm not, you're not. All the mentors that we know and love in our careers and people listening, like, you're not perfect and you never will be perfect. And in those moments of imperfection, if someone calls you out on your bullshit, the least you can do is listen. Because at the end of the day, the power base that you have as a leader, like, you have to be able to make the best of it and do your best to conform to satisfy the masses, because that's the only reason you exist. Or, hey, Sergeant, I don't like that you do this. Okay, well, what should I do? You know, I've only known one or two things. This is how I was raised in the Army. How should I have gone about it? And if it's a positive thing and it's something you can actually do it, because they're asking you to, unless it's illegal, immoral, or unethical. But still give that soldier or that leader, that NCO, that opportunity of knowing, like, hey, like, I'm coming from a place of, like, pure heart, but maybe my delivery wasn't the best, but this is still what I'm trying to get across, you know what I'm saying? Because it's all about message. Like, you know, every NCO has a plate of food. You know, yours may be this assortment, mine may be this assortment, but soldiers are going to go towards what they see as appetizing, you know what I'm saying? But it's just trying your best to, like, conform to what they really want.
Do you think those leaders, because I mean, I see them here, I see them every place I go, do you think those leaders that are those types that yell and smoke, do you think that that's the right answer, or do you think there should be a fine line where you can be, like, the utmost, like, aggressive when it comes to the term of discipline and then relax a little bit and explain? Or do you think that the yelling and the smoking is, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, is it necessary, I guess, today?
As far as, like, yelling, I don't really see scenarios where yelling is applicable unless you are in, like, a field environment and literally the point of you yelling is to further the distance of your voice, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like, nobody should be yelling at each other. Honestly, like, it's kind of stupid. If I'm being honest with you, like, and granted, like, nobody's perfect, and, like, there will be times you probably yell, if not raise your voice. But like I said, that's you acting out of emotion. So yelling, I think, doesn't really have a place in leadership at all. But smoking, i.e., quote unquote, the politically correct way, the corrective action, I think it's a tool.
Yeah.
I think it's a tool that leaders not need to, but should use and have a good understanding of it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't remember the last time I've had to actually smoke somebody, but even just having someone, like, if it's something serious, something egregious, or something like, let's say for example, on shift, someone leaves their M4 in the weapons rack of a patrol vehicle and they go home. That's a big deal. You know, it's a big deal. I could see someone, hey, go ahead and come back. Don't yell, don't hoot and holler, come back. Hey, get in the front of your rest position. And they just kind of just hold it. And you get your point across, whatever, and then them kind of feeling some sort of physical pain along with you getting your message across can be effective. But I think the old school way of just, like, you're late, because I've seen, honestly, like, I've seen a soldier be 2 minutes late to shift or whatever hit time, and from their car, an NCO will be like, hey, just go ahead and start fucking iron miking over here. and from their car, you know, from 400 or 500 meters away, they just start iron miking, lunging to the formation or whatever. And that's embarrassing. You know, that is embarrassing. And another quote I got told after, like, that staff sergeant took me to Chipotle and sat me down, is you always praise in public and punish in private.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Never smoke. If you are going to smoke somebody or you are going to give someone corrective training, do it to where it's only you and that person, and then you stand them up, explain, and you walk away from that situation. And then when you praise, because praise is more important than punishment, do it in front of as many eyes you can get out there. Hey, this soldier did a good job. If you can give him a coin, if you can give him, if all you can give him is a round of applause, that's better than nothing.
Yeah, just a handshake or a fist bump, like, hey,
yeah,
good job.
Like, hey, like I see you, you know, like I acknowledge your good job, you know, because the Army doesn't really do the best at that, because we kind of just get into this, you know, monotonous kind of technique and routine and whatnot. But a little bit more to elaborate on your question, like the concept of smoking is the breaking down and building up of a soldier. So I've never personally got smoked like by myself for something that I did, but I've seen it and I've done it. Soldier does something wrong, you make them do, I don't know exactly what the reg is, I probably should know, but you do the mat, you do 10, let's say 8 count push-ups. They're sweating, their heart rate's up, whatever. You smoke them, okay, block checked. Hey, stand up, look at me. Now I'm gonna explain to you what you did and why I did this to you. Yeah. And why is it so severe that you left your M4 in the back of the patrol vehicle? A, because that's, what is that called? SI. It's a serious, what does SI stand for? Sensitive item. Sensitive item. Like, you know, you left a sensitive item in the back of the patrol vehicle with rounds in it, and then you can kind of give them that encompassing idea, like, hey, you know, we are soldiers. If we were downrange and you lost your M4, Lord have mercy on you, because the COG or FOB or camp, wherever you're at, would shut down, and it would be everyone looking for your M4. And then they find it outside the porta john where you left it, and then now you're embarrassed, and now you look a fool. And then now, God forbid, you don't know where your M4 is, and now we get under attack, and you can't do your job and save people. Now you look like a fool, and now people that end up passing away, God forbid, because you forgot this, you know what I'm saying? Just the little things, you know. But yeah,
I guess a way that I've always thought about it is like, for like the smoking concept is, you know, for instance, Ishik here, my dog, she's an Anatolian Shepherd, which is an alpha breed. So you have a bunch of alpha breed dogs. You have like Cane Corsos, all those dogs that are primarily the head of the pack. And when you get those dogs, right, they think they're alpha, but you have to display that you're the alpha. And whether that's, you know, more training or it's actually, you know, by force, like you tell a dog to sit, doesn't sit, push him down a little hard, doesn't sit, push them hard. Or like even with Ishik, like when Ishik was a puppy, she would like attack me and I had to like fight back. So it's like one of those things where it's like you have to display that you're the alpha. And I guess for me, the smoking, which if I've ever smoked you, comment on this and tell me the story, because I don't think I've ever smoked anyone. But I think it's like you have to break that person down to prove to them like, hey, listen, this was your deficiency. You do this again, the pain that you just felt, you're gonna keep feeling until like we find another solution.
And what's also interesting about that too, and you did say it as well, like it's that concept of breaking you down and building you back up. What some soldiers don't understand is getting smoked is probably like the best thing that could happen to you. You know what I'm saying? Same scenario. Soldier leaves an M4 in the back of a Humvee. I could, if I really wanted to, recommend you for Article 15 right then and there. Company grade Article 15. Now I'm taking your money away. Now you got extra duty. Now you could get kicked out or barred from enlistment or whatever. So smoking is honestly like not the best thing that could happen to you, but that's a way your leader's saying like, okay, you're gonna get your ass whooped for a couple minutes. You're gonna sweat. You're gonna hate this shit. It's gonna suck. It's gonna be hard. I'm gonna talk to you, and then I would also, if it was me, like now, I would also tell them like, hey, like you said, the next time you do something to this level, it won't be this. It's either gonna be worse, or I'm just gonna recommend you for Article 15. I'm gonna put it on paper. Now you can't promote. Now all your battle buddies are gonna be sergeants and corporals, and you just, hey, what happened to you? Why can't you promote? Oh, well, I got an Article 15 because You know, I kept messing up, I kept fucking up, I kept losing stuff, I kept being late, I kept talking back, I didn't stand up parade rest and stuff like that. So yeah, 100%. But like I said, to answer your question, it's a tool. Like, you know, like you hear like the Batman belt as an NCO, like it's a tool. You know, I definitely think it's not as utilized as it. I can't even recall the last time I saw someone get corrective action. You know what I'm saying? Because there was even a point to where like it would, like when I was a soldier, it was kind of like fun. Like you would banter, like talk shit with your NCOs, and then, you know, like not the most professional conversation, be kind of like talking shit, like, oh, sorry, you know, that's why you're old as fuck or whatever. That's, you know, hey, do push-ups. Oh, hey, Roger, that's smart. You know, you do like 2, hey, get up, you know, stuff like that. Like, but like you said, I think I think we're kind of hitting it on the head. I mean, I'm sure there's some people that disagree, but it's that dominance. Like, hey, we can have this great relationship, this quote unquote like positive, even somewhat friendly relationship. But hey, I'm still big dog. Like, we can talk shit. But okay, you threw in a hairline joke, cool. Go and knock out 10. You know, hey, you know, I got you. But then he even shows them like, hey, like you and I can have this relationship, but lead with respect. You know what I'm saying? Like because I have people that outrank me that I would consider my friends. You know what I'm saying? But if my, you know, platoon sergeant or somebody from back in the day called me, I would still answer with, hey, how you doing, Sergeant? Or how you doing, First Sergeant? Or what the case is. Or if, you know, anyone, like if a buddy of mine, if you picked up Sergeant First Class, I'm sure you wouldn't want me to, and time passed and you called me, like, hey, what's up, Sergeant? You'd be like, hey, shut the fuck up. And, hey, and, you know, I lead with that. Like, I'm going to give you that. And then if the conversation goes somewhere to where I can kind of, you know, kick my feet up a little bit, so to say, then I'll do so. But
and from my understanding of the corrective action, I guess regulation is, per deficiency is 10 repetitions of whatever physical exercise authorized and or on paper. So counselings were like that. Yeah. So I guess if you're listening to this and, you know, wherever you're at, I guess if you're a victim of someone that's, you know, giving you corrective action and also putting on paper, like, be aware of that, because your corrective action is your corrective action. The paper is
separate.
It's and or.
Yeah, it's not both.
Like, yeah, if you know what I mean? Like,
double dipping, yeah.
Do you remember the worst smoking you've ever got? The worst corrective action you've ever got?
Yeah. Like I said, I've never been, or I can't remember one time that I've been individually like called, well, I'm gonna fuck you up because you did something wrong. But probably the worst I've ever been smoked was probably in basic. In basic, I don't know, you know, story time. It's like the last week, second to last week of OSIT, and you know, one of the things for us is we go to the MP museum. It's, you know, lax. You know, the drill sergeants aren't really there, and some way, somehow, someone was caught sleeping on the floor in the museum. We got kicked out. We got kicked out of the museum.
Oh, the whole company did, or the whole?
Yeah, the whole MP, the whole basic company got kicked out of the museum because the manager of the museum caught this person, kicked us out, called our drill sergeant, and the drill sergeant was like, "Man, you motherfuckers think da 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 this and that."
You knew it was gonna happen. You knew.
Yeah. So no, I thought it. And this is where it gets kind of interesting because, you know, the bus ride to the starships were like, damn, we're like, who the fuck was asleep? You know, like, no, and obviously no one's speaking up. I'm like, who the fuck was asleep?
It's probably just one of those statues that was landed. I thought it was.
It's like I didn't see anybody asleep, and it wasn't me. So we're just kind of like, and then we go up to the bay, and then, you know, that conversation, you can imagine how it goes. Like, man, who the fuck? Who was it? And nobody knows, whatever. So we're all expecting to get smoked that day. Doesn't come. We're like, oh shoot, okay. And then we kind of wake up anxious, like, man, it's gonna come today. Yeah. It didn't come. Week passed, and then, you know, at this point we're like about, like I said, a week or two away from graduating.
They forgot about it.
So we're like, oh man, they didn't forget. So that's the thing, is like, we're like, oh, that's never gonna happen. But this one day, it's like, it was about a week, if not earlier, from that event happening. We knew something was wrong because, you know, at this point in OSIT, it's only like 3 or 4 drill sergeants there, and the rest of them were either off, or like they work CQ that night, or they're on recovery or whatever. But when we go down to form up at the CTA, every single one of our drill sergeants were there. Oh no, we'll backtrack a little bit. A drill sergeant came back from a school that we hadn't seen from the beginning of the cycle, and he's like, oh, I heard what you guys did. And we're like, what are you talking about, drill sergeant? He's like, I heard. He's like, don't worry. He's like, hell is coming soon. Hell is coming. And we're like, oh man, is he talking about this museum thing? And then, lo and behold, like I said, we go downstairs on the CTA, and every single one of our drill sergeants is there. We're like, oh man, this isn't normal. This isn't okay. And our first sergeant comes out. He's like, you've disrespected and disgraced the entire MP Corps, my company, and and he just looks, he's like, get in the fucking pit, the tire pit. And it was like Shark Fate. It was like Shark Attack all over again. Front back goes. I'm going through it, the whole thing. And our first sergeant's like, I don't even want you in my bay anymore. Get the fuck out and find somewhere else to live. And we're like, what does that mean? And then our drill sergeant's like, you fucking heard him. Get all your shit from your locker and get the fuck out. Damn. So everyone's they're putting like ASUs, everything, duffel bags, and we just start walking. Like, because the starships, it's like a big square, so we just start walking towards, I think it was, must have been like Delta or Charlie 795. We're just walking. It's just
you got a bed for it?
Yeah, it's like the masses are just walking, and unfortunately, like the first one ended up getting in trouble. Like there's a lot of people's stuff got damaged because it's 3 or 4 duffel bags and they're dragging it on the ground, and their ASU pants got torn and their shoes got all scuffed up. But that was probably the worst one. And then it finished, and he yelled, took our passes away, and hey, go put your shit away and get ready for chow. And was like, hey, what the fuck? Like this dude, like what? And then we still don't even know who slept on the ground. But that's the worst I've ever been smoked.
It's like you guys probably looked like when you were like an 8-year-old, and you're like, I'm gonna run away, and you just grab your bag.
All your shit, everything.
Yeah. I'll tell you mine just because it's something that I've never experienced before. So I joined in 2013. So I mean, it still was transitioning into like the newer environment of an army. So like all these like push-ups and stuff is like a normal smoking, but to tie back into what my soldier wanted to know about Ranger School being resilient, I would say the worst pain I've ever felt, like physically for smoking, was one night. I don't even remember what happened. I think we were just like lollygagging and just taking our time.
Yeah. But
like we had like one more class to go over, and then like they were gonna let us go to bed. But we did something, and the range instructor was like, you know what? No, I'm done with this. He's like, get your rucks on. And he made us, they call it ruck flopping, where you put your ruck on and you jump in the air and you land on your ruck, and you get back up and keep doing that. So your ruck's on, yeah, and you just jump as high as you can to smash your back, roll over, get up, and just keep doing that. And it was so long that we were doing that, and it was like the worst pain I've ever felt. I kept trying to jump higher so I could break my ruck frame. Mm-hmm. So I'd be like, oh, my ruck's broke, just so I didn't have to do it anymore. But I was like, golly, I've never even heard of that before.
That's the first I've ever heard of it.
So if that's like an infantry thing, like, that's wild, because I'm like, that is absolutely absurd.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of like some other old ones that you can't even quote unquote do anymore. Like Little Man in the Woods. You've heard of that?
I guess qualifying really wasn't a smoking. It was more of like a
hazing kind of thing. Yeah, that was the qualifying. What is that? You hang upside down in a tree?
Yeah, you scoop you just put like your legs up top and your head down bottom. And you like wrap.
Yeah, and you can't really get down. Yeah,
it's just kind of strange. But
like Little Man in the Woods. I don't know what the movement was, but I think they're like called like sunshines. It's almost like a jumping jack, but you have to, when you stand up, you're supposed to say like sunshine, sunshine. So yeah, we did that a couple of times in basic. Like the dead cockroach, that sucks. I've done that before in basic. Yeah. We just stick your hands and legs up in the air like a dead cockroach and just hold it there. But I think the worst one, the one that you don't think would suck, but it sucks over time, is like when you have to get end of your buttstock of your M4. And then the muzzle, you just hold it out in front of you.
Oh yeah.
Or they would hold the end of the barrel, and then pull the charging handle back, and they just held it. And then you start to shake or whatever, and like, all right, hey, put it down. Okay, take out a pen. Your pen just like, now hold that. You're like, oh, this shit sucks too.
Yeah, there's a lot of that. I honestly think the overhead arm clap, wherever it is, I think that's the worst, because there's no time limit. They just do it for forever. How long?
Yeah, that was like my forte when I was actually like smoking people, or even like when I do push up PT and like I pick an exercise, like I was like overhead arm claps.
Yeah.
That's just because of like of aerosol school.
Those are always the worst. But whoever's listening to this, comment a couple things. Comment, the worst time you've been smoked and what exercise it was. And mind you, we're not giving anyone ideas. This isn't ideas for you to go back to your troop or company and do. So
yeah, because in today's Army, you will get reported for that. I promise you that.
Yeah. So let's wrap back into resiliency.
Mm-hmm.
One of the topics was like how to remain resilient. Like, I guess what was it, like with your friends or like mentors?
Yeah, I mean, I would say you have to be able to turn it off, like turn off that Army you. Like you shouldn't go home in soldier mode. Like I know it's hard for probably soldiers that live in the barracks, at a quote unquote moment's notice, you can get your room inspected or whatever, but like as soon as you get home and you're able to turn into, insert first name here again and do what you need to, like that's crucial. I think that's like the first step, like being able to turn it off. And that's hard, like believe me, like, and probably better than I do, like the messages continue to come in, like my phone is buzzing probably like all day or whatever, and it's my job to relay that same information to my soldiers, et cetera, et cetera. I get it, that comes with the job, whatever, and it's a necessary evil. I think it definitely can and should be a little bit less, but it's a necessary evil. And I would say just having, as far as like the friend thing, like you have to be able to pick people and surround yourself with people that have your best interest at heart. And that's kind of difficult too. Like a little bit about like my experience, like as a young soldier too. Like I didn't really have to go through that because my first duty station was home. You know what I'm saying? Like I was literally back home. So I'm ignorant to that idea, or that concept, I should say, because I can only imagine, and I empathize for an 18-year-old boy or girl, or 18-year-old man or woman that's never been away from home, that's never made, money to the level you are making in the Army, because it may not be a lot, but it's a lot, we're not out here living like ballers or whatever, but it's a little bit of money, having your own place to live. You don't know anything about life, first of all, unless you do. You don't know anything about the Army. So it's like, what the heck am I supposed to do? And you kind of like don't know, because you're going into a unit that there's people that have been in there for a couple of years now. They already have friend groups. They already have the funny guy, the athletic guy, the gamer, stuff like that. And contrary to like an 18-year-old kid, high school, the cliques are very apparent. That is the athletes because they're on the football team. That's the goth kids because they are goth or whatever the case is. That's the the people that hang out in the library during lunch. That's the gamers. That's whatever. But in the Army, it's everyone's wearing the same uniform, and you're kind of just a new guy. And people listening, or in general, like new people, if you get them, like just try and include them. And if you are new, I mean that's the next kind of topic that we have down that we're going to talk about in a later episode, so I won't get into it as well. But just friends, just pick your friends for more than interests, I should say.
Yeah.
If people shouldn't just be your friend because you share a common thing. That's where it starts, sure. But like be able to have, and I think you can learn this with people if and when you feel comfortable expressing your emotions with someone one-on-one, and you don't really like their reaction to it, just don't do it to that person anymore.
Yeah.
Like, I think what people kind of do or tend to do is they try and just rely on someone over and over and over and over again, expecting something to change, but it won't. If I'm hey, I'm going through this at home, whatever the case is, you're just kind of like, damn, that's crazy, dude, that sucks, blah, 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 and then you're kind of like not really giving me the energy that I want. Just go to somebody else.
Yeah.
And I would say honestly, like in the Army, you have someone. There's at least one person that you can do that to. And even if there's not someone in your unit, you know, kind of like now the NCO is coming out, there's so many resources for you to utilize. The chaplain, behavioral health. I think there's like some other like
through MFLAC, you can just
MFLAC,
even though it's for family members, you can still build their one-on-one counseling.
MFLAC, exactly. And if it's something serious to the point that like you really feel like no one is hearing you out, like you go to a battle buddy or a peer, I guess I should say, and they're not listening to you, try your team leader. If your team leader is not really helping you, try your squad leader and tell your squad leader, like, hey, I went to my team leader and nothing really happened. Your squad leader is not giving you that energy, go to platoon sergeant. Platoon sergeant's not giving you that energy, platoon leader. If you see what I'm getting at,
yeah.
Like there's always bigger fish. And I guarantee you, if you as an individual are trying to better yourself, don't stop because you're not getting that immediate reaction that you want, you know, like still seek it out. Like if I'm, you know, for example, like if I'm looking for a significant other, I'm not gonna say that, but if I'm looking for if I'm looking for like a gym,
yeah,
right, and the gym that I'm looking for, there's certain criteria that has to be met. If I go to one or two and I kind of call it quits, I'm never even gonna get what I really want. I'm never even gonna be able to, like, well, you know, I wanted this, exhaust your resources. Go to 10 gyms, go to 10 other people, and then out of those 10, either A, make the best of those 10 and kind of, you know, put your chips in that area, or B, just keep looking. Like, there's somebody out there that gives, you know, cares about you, that gives a fuck about you. You just have to find out who that person is.
Yeah, I guess the biggest thing is just, you know, if for some reason that you're not being resilient and you have stuff that, you know, you just can't fight off, like I go to therapy, and I'll tell anyone that. Like I go see a therapist once every 2 weeks, and half the time I go in there, she'll be like, "What are you going to talk about?" And I'll have a topic, or she'll be like, "You have anything today?" And like I told her last time, I was like, "Honestly, I have nothing, but I just like talking to you because you're easy to talk to."
Yeah.
And mind you, I probably have hundreds of people I can pick up the phone right now and call them and be like, "Yo, listen, I'm having a hard time."
Mm-hmm.
But like, you know, you're never going to be a burden. And if for some reason you think that you're going to be a burden if you talk to somebody, then you don't need to talk to that person.
No, not at all.
You know what I mean?
Not at all.
And you shouldn't be scared to have to go to like your leadership to seek something.
No.
Like that's just bad.
Yeah. It is their job.
Yeah.
In a leadership aspect, it's their job to help you. And that's why I threw in that quote, like, there's always bigger fish. Like, God have mercy on you if you do it. If you really want to go to this level, like, you can go to the CG, I'm sure, has an open door policy. Probably, I would imagine so. Hey, sir, I've gone to every single level and every single echelon of my chain of command, and nobody is helping me. I need help. I guarantee you at that point. Or even like the congressman. You know, like, call your congressman, people say that.
I've done that before. That's a different episode.
Yeah.
I'll get into that.
Call your congressman. Yeah.
But one of the typical responses that I've got. So you know, I've been in the Army 10 years, and I've had soldiers that had problems, you know, back home, or you know, in the military, like for some reason they didn't fit in or whatever like that. And you know, I always tell them to seek therapy. And the first response I get is, "Sergeant," or whoever I was at the time, "Sergeant, I do not want to go to therapy because you know, I may be taken out of the fight." And my response is, if you're in the fight right now with whatever you're dealing with, you're not 100%.
And what use are you?
Take a month, take 2 months, however long it takes, get right, and then when you're ready for the fight, we'll do it. But right now, it's like those soldiers that, you know, have a hurt ankle or no, I'm tough, I'll rock through it. No, you're going to go to the sick call, you're going to get a profile, you're going to get better.
Mm-hmm.
Once the doctor clears you, then you can do it again. But the only thing you're going to do is just worsen yourself, worsen your body.
Exactly. And that even ties into like what I said at the beginning when I was talking about my mom passing and resiliency, is you can have this idea of like, oh, I need to be ready all the time, and anyone knows, but like the Army in particular, I promise you, the cogs of the machine will continue to spin with or without you.
Yeah, bad as that sounds, it's true.
As bad as that sounds, like when I'm no longer in my unit and you're no longer in this unit, or when our time in the Army is gone, and I say, like, let's say I make Command Sergeant Major one day, and I say remarks complete, everyone stands up, shakes my hand. The next day, they will be still standing out there at 6:30 doing the bend and reach.
With the sergeant major on a plane.
With another sergeant major that's either on his way or he shook my hand in receiving the command that I'm getting, and I'm going to be somewhere else.
Yeah.
The cog, the machine will continue to go, but your piece in that machine, your however big your cog is at that moment in time, if it's broken, or it's not efficient, or it's not spinning at the level it needs to, then now you're honestly like being a hindrance to everybody else.
Yeah.
Not
I hear what you're
hindrance.
saying.
Not a hindrance, but like if you can be more productive and perform at a higher level with required resources that are achievable, whether it be a hurt ankle and you get rehab, yeah, do so. If it needs you to take a knee because your family's going through some stuff and you need to get pulled off the road, yeah, I would rather you do that than your mind is somewhere else and I need you to help me apprehend somebody, or something even more dramatic. You know what I'm saying? But like, no one cares about you more than you.
Yeah, that's 100%.
That's 100%. Or I should say, no one knows what you need more than you. Even if you're in a relationship, even if you have kids, even if you think you have it all understood, like, you know what you need to do. Like, you know what I'm saying? Anyone going through something, like, let's say it's like a toxic relationship. You know what you need to do. You need to break up with this person, or you need to break up with this relationship, or you need to stop drinking alcohol, or you need to stop using nicotine, or you need to stop using drugs, or you need to stop binge eating, or stop going to Burger King every day. Like, you know what you need to do. It's just doing it. Like, you just have to do it, or finding the means of having the discipline, i.e. the bounce back or resiliency to do it.
Yeah, and if you're, I wouldn't say viewing, I guess if you're viewing or seeing someone that isn't really getting the help and they're doing X, I'm going to tell you a story. Is when I was in Germany, I was dealing with some very dark stuff, and I was drinking every day. It didn't help I was in Germany, because all you do is smash beers every day. When you wake up in the morning and drink. But one of my best friend's wife, she noticed how much I was drinking. And one day I went to their house and I was drinking, and she grabs me and she goes, "Jake, you're going to go get help tomorrow." And that kind of like snapped me into place.
Mm-hmm.
And if you need to be that person that, you know someone that's, abusing themselves for something that they can't fight themselves, then tell them to go get help. And if they refuse, then go talk to somebody else. But
don't be a fucking bystander or some shit.
You know what I mean? And yeah, it's happened to me on multiple occasions. I've been I drank my fair of Irish whiskey, but
like don't
but
be.
now, like, looking back on it, like, I haven't drinking quite a while, and looking back on it, I'm like, damn, did I really need to just deal with that? Like, and it may be the right answer at the time, but it's not the right answer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and don't be a bystander. Like, just it's as easy as just asking someone how you doing, even if it's not even genuine. How you doing? I'm good. Or what is interesting to see, and I would encourage people to do, is, "Hey, how you doing?" The typical soldier response is like, "Oh, I'm here, Sarn." "Oh, another day in paradise, Sarn." Or, "Oh, I'm tired, Sarn." How easy is it for you? Doesn't matter what rank you are, what position you are. You want to talk about it? Just see where it goes.
Or just get them on that, like, "Hey, what'd you do this weekend?" Typical responses: "Oh, I just sat in my barracks room and played video games." And, "Oh, what game did you play?"
Mm-hmm.
"Oh, I was playing Fortnite."
Mm-hmm. Whatever.
Though would I've played it before, but like, damn, I never played that before. I seen like TikToks though, like, is it fun? And they start getting that relationship with you. The next day you see them, like, you know what I mean? Like, just building that rapport, and then you could. Sorry, my dog's licking her paws. But yeah, that's pretty much all I got on the resiliency side. But I think it's resiliency. Resiliency now is very. It's always been big, but now it's like, now it's one of those things where it's like, you have to be, because all these things that are getting pushed down from higher, and with your own personal life, like, what people don't understand is, like, the soldiers that are like higher ranking, like, they always say family first, but in some scenarios for them it's army first, family second.
Mm-hmm.
So
I think that's pretty much wrap it up. I guess I'll just kind of cap it with resiliency is important because it's important to you. Like, the fact of the matter is, being in organizations with resilient people, or having the ability to be resilient, or having the resources to help with resiliency, just makes everybody better. Because once you have, in my analogy, you have those pieces of the machine or the members of that team that aren't performing at their version of their highest level, things start to fall apart. Another analogy I'll give is like if we were on a football team and I'm the guy, or let's say I'm not really that guy, but in that moment the ball's coming to me. It's my play and my head's not in it for whatever reason, and I drop the ball and I lose the game. Now we can't move forward, or now we can't win a championship, or now we can't do whatever. And whatever scenario or whatever analogy you want to give yourself, but everyone on a team on the same page and helping each other back up is a place that I want to be in an organization that I want to be a part of, and with rank and position is what I want to create as well. So I think we'll go ahead and wrap it up.
We're working on uploading these to the Apple Podcast. We have the Instagram and TikTok going. We're going to post some snippets on those. I'll make sure to title them the topic, like today was resiliency. On Instagram and TikTok, we have our own personal Instagram handles. So if you don't want to reach out on the podcast, if you have any questions or you want to talk about anything, you can click our personal one. I open mine actually, so it's not private anymore. So if you want to send me a direct message, we can talk from there. Yeah.
Yep. And then I'll probably throw this in probably everyone, but we're in the works of still getting some more stuff done in addition to like the Apple Podcasts. We're gonna do our best to upload these voice recordings. They may not be videos like YouTube videos. We're gonna upload these to YouTube as well, because I think that might be the easiest way and most accessible way. And more to follow on all things Pricky Six. And then in addition to that, here within the next couple weeks, we're going to try and get some stickers made. And stickers are going to be free, absolutely free. I'm probably going to carry some on me on the road in my time here. And then you work in a brigade, you probably have a bunch in your office or whatnot. But the incentive is, if you want a sticker, you got to give me and Jake and or Staff Sergeant Caldwell or Staff Sergeant Weiss a topic, and you get a sticker. So that's more to come. Thank you guys for listening. Thank you guys for your time. This episode was about resiliency, so stay resilient, and we'll see you guys next time. That was pretty good.
Yeah, that was good.